to Dr. Yolanda. She will be presenting the element of, the therapist's contribution, the breath for presence and attunement. Please.
First of all, Katerina, I want to thank you for inviting me to this symposium with so many important figures sitting next to me. So it's kind of daunting a little bit. But I will try to do my best to live up to the circumstances. So when Katerina asked me to participate in this table discussing the therapeutic encounter, what first came to my mind is therapeutic presence and attunement as the two very important contributions of the therapist. And as I started thinking more about it, I also got some feedback from my class, the third-year students, where we're teaching two very important books of Ernesto Spinelli. The latest one has just been published. The one is The Interpreted World, and the other one is Practicing Existential Psychotherapy. And we were discussing about the practice of psychotherapy, and one of the students said, well, then we go into the therapy with no agenda and no expectations. And I thought about it, and I replied, I said, no, when I go into the therapy room, I go in with an expectation and with an agenda. And my expectation and my agenda is from myself, not from the client. I don't have an expectation or an agenda for what is going to happen, or what the person is going to bring, or where therapy is going to go. But I do have an expectation from myself to be there, fully there, and to try to create a relationship with this person, to try to establish an alliance, a therapeutic alliance. And by being there and by being present, of course, I am very often thinking about an article that we also read and give to our students and the third-year students, because the third-year students who are entering the clinical cycle are doing more phenomenological work. So we really basically talk about Ernesto Spinelli's work and Craig's work. And Eric Craig has written about what he calls disciplined original presence. And in a recent article that I had the chance to publish at the Journal of the Society of Existential Analysis, I also added disciplined, original, and non-imposing presence. And I think that, well, what Eric Craig means by discipline is that we do need to have a certain discipline in ourselves and in the way with which we are in the moment. We can't just say and blurt out anything that comes to our mind, right? But we do have to think on the basis of the ethical code in terms of what is in the best interest of my client at that moment, and what is it that is important to share, and how am I going to share what I'm going to share. So there needs to be a certain discipline, and also the idea of originality has to do with authenticity, to try to be real, to try to be who I am in the encounter, and not to play a role or to pretend that I am somebody that I'm not, which has to do with, in my mind at least, with the idea of also being the expert in the room. and that I am the one that knows and will tell my client what is best for them, although very often clients do have that expectation that we will tell them how to go about living their life, but this is not what we're there to do. What we're there to do is to help them find out their own way of living life and of responding to their dilemmas and their crises and so on. Discipline and original presence, and I've added non-imposing, and recently I heard in an interview of Ernesto Spinelli about unknowing, and I liked it very much because he was talking a little bit also about this non-imposing way of being in the sense that I just mentioned. That we don't really know what is happening, or what is the person saying to us exactly. And I think that this is a very important thing about phenomenology as well. Right? It is asking us to put in parentheses, to put aside what we know, and to enter into the relationship in an open-minded, but I would also add in an open-hearted kind of way, to really try to experience as fully as possible what is the person bringing and how he or she is experiencing the world, and not assume that we do know what they're talking about. So the ability of the therapist to be present in a non-judgmental and non-imposing manner creates a space in which the client can really unfold his or her life story. And it was very nice that Katerina yesterday in her opening ceremony presentation talked about the avatar. The avatar of being Asclepios. And in many ways, I've translated Eric Craig's article on sanctuary and presence, this idea of sanctuary as the avatar. Of course, I had also written about this before I had met Eric Craig in 2012, because I think that the two important ingredients of the therapeutic relationship is the creation of the relationship and the space, right? And this space is a sacred space. And I think this is why Eric Craig chose the word sanctuary, to emphasize the sacredness of the relationship and what transpires in that room. And I think that, for me at least, one of the most important elements of the code of ethics is the element of confidentiality. That what is shared in that room is really private, and we need to respect it as much as possible, because the person is really revealing themselves and are opening up their heart in a way that we probably have never done before. So we need to be very respectful. So we create the safe space, and we create this kind of trust that I think that very often has been severed in life by our relationships in the past. But so what we're trying to create is a new experience where the therapist needs to be very attuned, right? Needs to be able to hear, to listen to what the person is bringing. When I was in the beginning of my practice, I was so entangled in thinking what I had to say that I am sure I missed out on a lot of what was being told by my client. As I'm getting older and getting a little bit more secure in that it is okay not to know, and that as therapists we're not there to share our wisdom, but to share our presence, and that what people need is somebody that can listen to them and not somebody that can tell them wise words or whatever is going to be consolation for them or whatever, but to have that space where they can actually hear themselves. And I'm becoming more comfortable with silence in the room. I see that I listen a lot better. I'm a lot more present in the moment with whatever is arising, whatever is happening. And that helps me also to be more self-regulated. And I think that this element of self-regulation is very important because our clients very often are becoming very emotional. And we are there to provide with a certain sense of stability. All right. So although we are attuned and we empathize and we are fully absorbing what their experience is, or trying at least to absorb as much as possible what their experience is, it is also important to remain as self-regulated as possible so that we will give a different kind of a way of relating. Okay, that if we were to also get into panic and if we were also to get extremely emotional, that would definitely not be very useful either to the client or to ourselves. So the big challenge is twofold, is to try to remain open to whatever is happening in the moment and to be in the world with the other person and to really make them feel that they are in a safe space where they can really unravel their life story and come to an understanding of what has happened. I will talk a little bit tomorrow about this. I was inspired by, of course, Heidegger and his historical authenticity, because it's a big challenge to be able to make our own history, our own. Right? And to really be the authors of our life means to be able to embrace everything that has happened, all of our lived experiences. And in order to do that, we have to first be able to acknowledge them and be aware of them, although they are so painful very often, and then to be able to integrate them in our life and in who we are. So I think I'm going to stop here, and thank you again for inviting me.